everybody! Welcome back to another episode of Umineko. It's episode 2, part 5. I'm Lorelei, and the last time we left off, Beatrice appeared out of nowhere and sent everyone into a frenzy. And the Ushiromiya siblings are very concerned with the inheritance. And as always, if you enjoy my content, if you like Umineko, please consider subscribing or giving this video a like. It really helps a lot. And comments are always appreciated. But without further ado, let's just get right into today's episode. Hideyoshi's claim that advertising doubled the taste was apparently right. The kids and Nanjo, who had been chased out to the guest house, had gathered in the cousin's room and were eating the cake that Kumasawa had brought there for dessert. It was both wonderful and high class, with lavish amounts of cream and decorated deliciously with fruits. But even though it was delicious, for some reason it didn't taste quite as good.
ゴーダさんの脳書きがないと味って随分落ちるんだな。
脳書きを求めようにも熊沢のばあちゃんに聞いた日にゃこのケーキの原料もサバってことになっちまうぜ。
Right, because Kumasawa makes a lot of dishes with mackerel, right?
ほんと？サバからケーキってできる？
ええ、このケーキもサバの絞り汁に小麦粉と卵を混ぜて焼き上げるとふっくら焼き上がるのでございますよ。
I'm sure it'll taste horrible though.
それが本当ならすごいね。お父さんの店の新メニューにサバケーキとか登場するかもしれないよ。
サバって栄養満点でヘルシーっぽいイメージがあるしよ。女性とかお年寄りに人気が出たりしてな。俺は食わねえけどよ。
女はそんなゲテモノは食わねえぜ。
年寄りも遠慮したいところですな。
美味しいんですけどね。
Kumasawa was really raising the mood with the mackerel jokes that were her speciality. But the sound of the downpouring rain invariably focused their concern on the mystery guest. In the end, they ended up showering Maria with questions again, since she was the only person here to have met Beatrice.
まさかあの話が本当だったとはね。
その口ぶりだとマリアが魔女に会ってたって話は信じてなかったまでにも初耳じゃねってことらしいな。
ああ。夢見がちなお年頃のよくあるおとぎ話くらいに思ってたぜ。いる！ベアトリーチェはいる！毎年親族会議に来るたびにマリアは会って一緒に遊んでた。
そうですね。ベアトリーチェ様は普段はお姿をお見せになりませんけど、心が綺麗で素直な方の前にはひょっこり姿を現していたずらをすることもあるそうですからね。
Beatrice was a name which referred to the being in that fairy tale about the Rokkenjima witch. Because the family and the servants publicly accepted the image of the witch of Kinzo's delusions to keep him in a good mood, it became established as Rokkenjima's fairy tale or maybe ghost story. To the family members who knew that history, the fairy tale of the Golden Witch didn't have much substance. However, they hadn't been able to say that in front of Kinzo. So to those who didn't know the history, like young Maria for example, it definitely wasn't unsubstantial but a real legend of a witch. So Maria believed in the legend of the witch. She swallowed it whole. That was natural for an imaginative girl who believed in witches. so no one said anything to betray her dream. On the contrary, they arranged things together to get her excited about her dreams.
だから、マリアちゃんがベアトリーチェにもらったお菓子と言って僕らに見せびらかすことがあっても、多分誰かがそういうことにして、マリアちゃんの手提げの中にこっそり飴玉でも忍ばせたのだろうって思ってた。
Essentially, no one ever truly believed Maria because they thought that she was just being too hopeful about something.
私も昔に2度か3度そういうふりをしてこっそりお菓子を置いてあげたことがあります。おそらく熊沢さんにも、いや使用人の皆さんや後ろ宮家の皆さんも一度や二度はあるんじゃないでしょうか。
I see. So, with the servants and Nanjo actually having so-called put on the performances for Maria, that would make sense why no one took Maria's words seriously to begin with.
無邪気な小さい子が喜ぶなら口裏を合わせてお菓子を置いてくこともあるか。ってことはジョージの兄貴なんかだいぶやってそうだな。
まあね。
Admitting that would probably be unrefined. George admitted it while being extremely worried that Maria didn't find out.
つまりサンタクロースみたいなもんか。
Beatrice is Santa Claus.
子供の夢を守るために両親がグルで嘘をついて寝静まったこの枕元にプレゼントを置いていたと。
子供の夢って守ってあげたいし、私は当然サンタなんていないってとっくに知ってるわけだけど、もし覚めなくてもいい夢だったなら一生信じていたかったぜ。
世の中は世知辛いばかりだと知ってしまうからこそ、大人はせめて子供の綺麗な夢を守ってやりたいと思うものです。
ベアトリーチェはいるの？
いますとも。ベアトリーチェ様はおりますよ。この前もですね、サバを干して紅茶の出汁に使おうとしておりましたら、そこへひょっこり。
まあつまりこういう調子だったはずなんだけどね。
つまりマリアを除けば誰も信じてなかったはずの魔女ってわけだ。
少し言葉が足りないね。信じてなかったんじゃない。信じさせてあげようとしたんだ。
So this was about not betraying a child's innocence. But Santa doesn't exist in reality. If you don't want them to be all disappointed when they learn that, you should just not give them that dream in the first place. Did I think like that because I was still a long way from becoming a full adult? Battler had finally attained a level of understanding about the true form of the Rokkenjima witch. But the current situation lay on an even higher level of understanding than that, and overturned all of its premises.
という認識だったはずの魔女のベアトリーチェ様が実際に現れちまったと、そういうことか。しかもだ、おじさんたちの騒ぎを見る限り、こりゃ面白そうな話だぜ。
ベアトリーチェという女性が実在しないという前提は実は存在しない。ルドルフおじさんも言っていた悪魔の証明そのものだよ。ベアトリーチェと名乗る女性の存在を僕たちは誰も知らなかった。でもだからといってそれがベアトリーチェが実在する可能性を否定できるわけじゃない。
南條先生はじいさまとの付き合いが長いですよね。
一時期親族会議でクラウスさんたちに随分と聞かれた話ですな。その昔金蔵さんに ベアトリーチェという愛人がいて、その隠し子がいるのではないかという話です。
なるほどな。親父たちは遺産分配で頭がいっぱいだ。そこに愛人の娘なんてのが現れれば、面倒なことになるのは火を見るより明らかってわけだ。
クラウスさんたちも最初は源氏さんに聞かれたのでしょう。しかし源氏さんは金蔵さんに忠誠を誓う側近で、多分私よりも金蔵さんが心を許す親友です。源氏さんは多分何も語らなかったのでしょう。それで次に古い友人である私の方に話を聞こうということになったのでしょうな。
で、結論として南條先生、じい様にベアトリーチェという愛人はいたんすか？
おりました。
Oh my goodness. That's like a big revelation.
いえ、私は会ったことはありませんぞ。ですが、そういう女性と交際があったと金蔵さんから聞かされたことはありました。相当昔にお亡くなりになられたそうで。
死んだ？その間に子供がいたとか？
それはわかりません。ただ金蔵さんはベアトリーチェを蘇らせるために研究をしていると常々言っておりました。
Does this mean that Beatrice is his mistress?
普通は愛人を失い忘れがたみがいたならば、そちらにその分の愛情を注ぐものです。ですから金蔵さんとベアトリーチェの間に子供はいなかったろうと私たちは自然に考えました。
ってことは、それも悪魔の証明になっちまうな。
なるぜ。愛人との間に子供がいなかったことは証明不能。現にこうして現れた以上、いたってことになっちまうわけか。
I think it's interesting that they panned to a shot of the painting of Beatrice when they were discussing the mistress situation, and then when talking about the child, it was to the other portrait of Beatrice, the current version of her, who is dressed in so-called modern clothes and not in that gown of hers. It kind of makes me wonder if these two Beatrices are the same or actually different.
少し暴力的な理論だね。後宮家の遺産問題でトラブルが生じていることを聞きつけ、何者かがおじい様の大昔の愛人関係を知り、それを装って遺産問題に食い込もうとしているとかの方が現実的だよ。
現実的ではある。しかし本当に彼女が隠し子で、しかもその上じい様に顧みられなくて孤独に生き復讐に帰ってきたって設定も否定はできねえよな。
復讐？なんだよそれ。
ああ、すまん。男なんだよ。ついつい面白そうな方に脚色しちまうぜ。妙なドラマの見過ぎだな。
Normally, that would have been a light joke. But it had come when the mystery guest calling herself Beatrice, who no one had invited, had marched in on the day of the family conference, the day of the inheritance distribution discussion, which even without the witch was threatening to become a bloodbath. There was no way that Battler's joke would be welcomed with laughter. So it was a really big help when Nanjo laughed energetically to calm everyone down.
なるほど。それはなかなか面白そうですな。そんな筋書きの小説をぜひ読んでみたいものです。
まあ現実にはそんなことはできねえと思う。何しろよ、 今、この島には、ひふみ、18人もいるんだぜ。
Are we gonna have another discussion on 18 plus 1 people?
妙なことをすればすぐにでも取り押さえられちまう。それに、台風のおかげで島から逃げ出すこともできない。つまり、とんでもない事件を起こそうにも、どうにもならねえってことさ。
同感だね。退路の断たれた袋小路で、しかも十分怪しまれているような状況下で、そんな恐ろしい復讐劇なんかとてもできるとは思わないね。
でしょうな。ならば姿など現さずに暗躍しての復讐の方が現実味があるというものです。堂々と姿を現して仇討ちなど時代劇の中でしか考えられませんな。
わからねえぜ。復讐ってのは感情でやるもんだ。理屈じゃねえぜ。それこそ刺し違えてでもなんて考えたら、別に警察も人数も退路がなくても何も怖くはないかもしれねえぜ。
That's true, actually.
大丈夫だよ、ジェシカちゃん。僕たちが想像するような物騒なことは何も起きないよ。
遺産をめぐっておじさんたちがバトルロイヤルってのが物騒なことじゃねえってんならな。
そうだよな。父さんもルドルフおじさんも体格いいし、エヴァおばさんなんか格闘技習ってんでしょ。大丈夫だよね。
Jessica didn't say it, but she had vaguely noticed that her own father opposed all of the other siblings regarding the inheritance. They acted like everything was good in front of the children, but when that pretense was lifted away, like it had been at dinner, it would become a tumultuous uproar. It was only natural that Jessica, realizing that, would be frightened that her father and mother had gotten into some kind of trouble and were about to be sacrificed for something terrifying. Why? That's oddly specific, though. Sacrificed?
だよな。ジョージの兄貴の言う通りだぜ。何も起こらねえよ。魔女様の名前を語ろうとも、魔法も使えない人間の女が一人で何ができるってんだ。
This is also like some serious foreshadowing. It kind of scared me. The sudden creepy laugh made all of us jump. And when we realized that this strange laugh was coming from Maria, we were shocked again.
そうなんだ。それがバトラの認識なんだね。
何かだよ。気色悪い声で笑うんじゃねえぜ。
バトラはベアトリーチェの存在をとりあえずは認めてる。19人目の客人程度には認めてる。でも、そこまでだね。19人目のベアトリーチェが魔女であることは認めてないね。
突然何を言い出すかと思えば。そりゃそうだろ。魔女なんているわけがねえ。それを語る人間の女しかありえねえだろうが。
あれ？おかしいよ、バトラー。それは悪魔の証明だよ。
That's that's true, actually. You can't prove that she's not a witch.
魔女なんているわけがねえ。でもそれはバトラが魔女に会ったことがないというだけで、魔女の存在を否定することにはならないね。
そうだな。確かにそうだ。魔女がいねえを証明することはできない。しかし、証明はできなくても主張はできる。魔女はいねえという、俺の主張だ。
どうして魔女はいないなんて証明できないくせに主張できるの？
そんなものはいねえからだよ。
That's kind of bad reasoning on Battler's part, though.
それで QED？ 何の証拠も根拠もなく証明終了？
QED?
無知が棚上げする時の典型例。暴力的思考停止だね。
となりゃ、答えは一つだぜ、マリア。魔女側の反証しかねえってことだろう。これまた悪魔の証明だ。連れてくりゃ話は早い。この場合は、ベアトリーチェと名乗るご婦人が、お星様がキラキラ飛び散るような華麗な魔法をステッキででも披露して、人間には不可能なことをやってみせればいいってことだろ。
But she did, right in front of Maria and Rosa.
ほら、お二人とも、落ち着いてくださいな。
It's kind of funny, the image of Battler picking a fight with a 9-year-old. Kumasawa noticed that the atmosphere between them was getting worse and tried to calm them. It seemed as though Battler quickly realized that he was acting immaturely. Right, very true. But Maria's expression didn't loosen. She kept staring at Battler as she laughed creepily.
マリアももうよせよ。機嫌直そうぜ。
それが望みなら、ベアトリーチェはきっと見せてくれるよ。人間には不可能なこと。そしたらバトラも信じるんだよね。ベアトリーチェのこと。
おう。そいつを拝ましてくれたら、信じてやろうじゃねえか。
魔女とバトラの議論のチェスだね。チェックメイトされたら、バトラは魔女を信じる。
おー、洒落た例えだぜ。魔女が魔法を見せる。俺のキングにチェックをかける。俺は人間でも、何らかの手段で再現可能だとイチャモンをつけて、キングを逃がす。それができなきゃチェックメイトってのは、確かにいい例えだ。
バトラ、チェスというのは、相手も自分も同じ動きの駒を持ってる。だから相手の手も読める。でもね、相手の駒がバトラの駒よりさらに不思議な動きができることを、バトラは今想定していない。魔女のはずないからと、ベアトリーチェの動かす駒の動きを自分とどうせ同じだと決めつけている。でもね、悪いけど、バトラのチェスの相手は人間じゃない。魔女なの。人間にはさせない駒の動きができる。バトラは今、そこの認識を間違えているの。バトラは、キリエおばさんのチェス盤思考って好きでしょ？
ああ。相手の立場に立っての思考術ってやつを、気に入ってるぜ。
だからダメなの。相手は魔女なのに、バトラはそれを認めない。だから魔女のさせる手を理解できず、チェス盤思考が通じない。
I get what Maria is saying. Since, to him, Beatrice is human, even if it does chessboard thinking, he won't arrive at the right conclusion, I suppose.
相手の認識を間違えている。チェス盤思考の一番最初の前提が崩れてる。
おー、そう来るかよ。
そなたは魔女とのチェスに勝てぬ。
I wonder what Sonata means.
その後のことはわかりません。私たち使用人は食堂に近づくなと厳命されましたもので。
なるほどね。それで、 シャノンはそのベアトリーチェという人物に以前会ったことはある？
わかりません。
That was a slightly odd way to say it. I thought it didn't sound like she meant her memory was vague.
私たち使用人にとって、ベアトリーチェ様はお屋敷のもう一人の主です。親方様に感化されて、そうだと吹聴している。という風におっしゃる方もおられますが、私がここへ勤め始めた時から、ベアトリーチェ様の話はすでに囁かれておりました。
前に聞いたよ。敬わないと呪われたりして、実際に事故に遭った使用人もいるんでしょ？
ええ。ただ、信じる信じないに個人差があったのは確かです。私はそういうものには敬いを忘れないのが信条ですので、存在を疑ったことはありません。黄金の魔女という、その不確かな存在がきっといると、おぼろげに信じていました。
それで、実際にその不確かな存在の魔女が姿を現して堂々と玄関からやってきたということなのかな？
わかりません。私には何も。
That's surprising. I don't know why Shannon would try to keep mum about Beatrice's existence. The existence of a witch. What does she stand to gain from it? Or is she trying to protect something?
シャノンは夕食を運んだ時に何か話はした？
いいえ、何も。
そっか。
I wonder if George can tell that she's lying.
しかし、ご飯を食べる魔女というんじゃ、なんだかリアリティがないね。やっぱり、この島の魔女伝説を知る何者かが、ベアトリーチェの名を語っているだけなんだろうね。シャノンちゃんは、ベアトリーチェを多分、お屋敷の守り神みたいに思って敬ってきた気持ちがあると思うんだよ。だから、それを名乗る人物が現れたので、少し動揺しちゃったんじゃないかな。
そうですね。きっとそうなんじゃないかと思います。
George was slightly at a loss at what to do about Shannon's downcast appearance. Possibly, not just Genji, but also the young servants, including Shannon, had been strictly questioned about whether they had a clue as to who this person called Beatrice was, thinking that he had tried to cheer her up somehow. Like Maria and Jessica, Shannon too must be unable to completely hide her agitation over the sudden visit of a person calling herself the Golden Witch. He thought that must be the case. But George had no way of knowing what was in Shannon's heart. Shannon was bitter and sad. The door to the Golden Land would be opened. The witch had definitely told her that. That meant the demise of everything. Even if she accepted the ring from George, now they could never be married. No, in the first place, did furniture like her have the right to be married? So, after all that talk about being human with Beatrice, she still deep down considers herself furniture? Even if the witch hadn't come to tell of their demise, wasn't it fated to fail sometime or another? Hadn't she turned her gaze towards the fun days with George and purposefully closed her eyes to the sad reality?
どうしたんだい？さっきから本当に元気がない。
ジョージさん、婚約って何でしょうか？
結婚の約束をするという意味だよ。でも、僕はその意味において、結婚と同じものだと考えてる。本当なら、僕は今すぐにでも、君をめとって家へ連れ帰りたい。でも僕は今、修行中の身で、 まだまだ自らの城を築き上げる力量がない。だからこそ、一人前になって初めて、胸を張って君を連れ帰りたいんだ。それは遠い未来の話じゃない。ほんの3年ほどを待ってほしいというだけの話なんだ。でも僕は、だからといって3年間、自分の気持ちを偽っていたくない。だから、婚約指輪を贈ろうと決めたんだ。それは、男として情けない理由かもしれない。妻と仕事を両立できないから待ってほしいなんて理由での婚約なんて情けないものかもしれない。でも僕は決して君を。
ありがとうございます。ジョージさんにとって婚約指輪が恋人に贈るプレゼントの一つではないということが分かりました。
当然だよ。婚約指輪はただのアクセサリーじゃない。尊い約束を指輪の形で残す恋人たちの宣誓なんだ。
だとすると、すぐにも結婚するなら不要なものということになりますよね。
その時は婚約指輪じゃない。結婚指輪として渡すよ。どちらにせよ、君に指輪を贈ることに変わりはないのさ。
この女は俺のものだから、誰も手を出すなよっていう、売約札みたいなものですね。
いや、そんな意味じゃ。
George knew about his shameful character. When he had fallen for Shannon and sworn to become an excellent man, he had sworn to part ways with that shameful part of himself. So, he chose to answer a little roughly on purpose, believing that Shannon would find it reassuring.
いや、その通りかもしれない。さよ。君を僕の妻にする。他の誰にもやらない。僕だけのものにする。だから、誰も手を出すな。そういう指輪だよ。間違いない。
ありがとうございます。ジョージさん。本当に、嬉しいです。
Then, Thurs Sun. If it was decided by fate that this engagement ring, that this promise would not be fulfilled, would you still give it to me? Shannon was about to ask that, but she swallowed her words. Because George had already spoken the answer. George had said it. He had said that to him, an engagement ring was infinitely similar to a wedding ring. Therefore, accepting George's ring had a far more sacred significance than a promise to marry.
だから、僕はあえてこれを婚約指輪と呼ぶのをやめにする。今からこれは婚約じゃない。
What is it then?
結婚指輪だ。
Oh my.
いいのでしょうか。神様の祝福もなく、私たちが結ばれたことを、勝手に宣言してもいいのでしょうか。
うん。神様も父さんも母さんもすべて事後報告で十分さ。僕たちが二人は結ばれたと一方的に宣言する。それは誰にも覆せない。
I can't remember if I said it before, but honestly, the fact that George is willing to disobey his parents in a way and to kind of take control of his life right now is, I think, still something that is kind of admirable of him, since I think a lot of children, especially Asian children, are often kind of in that position where their parents have a lot of influence on them. And so George, by kind of defying his parents, is really making a statement here.
ジョージさん。
僕は一時の感情で言ってるんじゃない。今だけの君を見て言ってるんじゃない。明日の君も、明後日の君も、それこそ未来の老後の君すらも見据えて言っている。
いつもジョージさんが話していることですよね。元気な子供や孫たちに囲まれて、ゆっくりとした老後を過ごしたいって。
うん。その時、僕の隣には、年老いた君がいる。それを僕は予言するよ。うん。必ずその日は訪れるから。
必ず訪れますか？信じてもいいですか？
Oh my goodness. The way Shannon's voice trailed off at the end.
うん。必ず。絶対。それを言葉でない形で証明するのが、この指輪なんだよ。
見せてください。
え？これさ。
George, thinking he was being told to show her the ring, hurriedly took out the ring box. Wait, if it's not the ring, then what does she want him to show? Even though he had practiced so much, he hadn't been able to look cool. But Shannon wasn't looking at that. With a straight and direct gaze, with faint tears and a smile, she was staring right at George's eyes. No, into something she could see beyond his eyes.
私にその未来を見せてください。
Oh my goodness. I feel so sad for Shannon.
見せるよ。必ず。約束する。老後までじゃない。死んだ後も、僕らは魂になっても、ずっとずっと一緒にいる。
Oh god, I'm kind of getting chills. Shannon wiped away her tears and took the ring box. Inside was a diamond ring more than worthy of blessing the two of them. George said that the line that he had practiced over and over again inside his head.
その指輪を好きな指にはめて、それを返事にしてほしいんだ。つまり、明日の朝までに。
Oh shit. Let's go back. Shannon smiled, took the ring, and with a completely natural movement, put it on the ring finger of her left hand. I forgot to read it aloud because I was staring so hard at Shannon's expression. It really had looked like a very, very natural movement. And for a while, George was stunned. That means that she agrees, right?
私のお返事です。ジョージさん。
シャノン。いや、さよ。
魂になってもずっとずっと一緒です。ジョージさん。
If I recall correctly, in the first episode, Shannon didn't put the ring on her finger, right? Only after when her body was found. There was no blessing from God, no pastor to witness, nothing. But the two to be married had proclaimed it. Two souls were joined here today.
姉さんはバカだ。
そうかな。
家具のくせに家具のくせに。
私家具じゃないよ。もう
嘘だ。どうして自分を騙すんだよ。人間になんか絶対になれないって知ってるくせに。黄金鏡へ行かなきゃ人間になれないって知ってるくせに。なのに、どうして黄金鏡へ生きる約束を自分で保護に。
そっか。指輪を受け取ったら、ベアトリーチェ様との約束がなかったことになっちゃうんだったね。ごめんね。
あとは、僕も姉さんも、ジョージ様も親方様もみんな条件は同じだ。
Wait, what?
13人が生贄にされる。5人しか黄金鏡に招かれない。その一石を自分で蹴るなんて。
Okay, okay. So, Shannon would have basically been guaranteed as one of the 5 to be invited to the Golden Land. Although, I don't know, I feel like Beatrice would still have sacrificed her one way or another, depending on her mood, I guess.
おかしいね。未練があるのは、カノン君の方みたいだね。
未練があるのは姉さんの方じゃないか。婚約しちゃったんだろう。果たせない運命なのを知りながら。
ずっとずっと、永遠に一緒だよって約束した。だからね、その瞬間に、私たちの永遠は完成したの。たとえ、私たちが生贄になってしまうとしても。もうだから、いいの。未練があるのは、むしろカノン君の方。私たちは家具なんでしょ？私たちはどういう結果になろうとも解放される。なら、黄金鏡に行けるか行けないかなんて、どうでもいいことじゃない。
I guess that is true. And in this case, Shannon was the only one who managed to stay true to herself, to her desires.
なのに、カノン君は黄金鏡へ行くことに固執してる。どうしても人間になりたいんでしょ？どうして？
人間になりたいからだよ。家具はもう嫌だ。
どうして？
僕も、恋がしたかったんだ。
I wonder how much the story will revolve around love. Tears spilled from both of Kanon's eyes, and he held.
お嬢様のことが。そしてあの日のお嬢様の姿を見て、もっと好きになった。そしてお嬢様も、僕のことが好きだと分かって。でも僕は核で、お嬢様の気持ちを受け止めることはできなくて。
それが勘違いだった。私たちは家具かもしれない。人間以下かもしれない。でも、恋をする資格がないわけじゃなかった。
添い遂げられぬ思いなら、ない方がマシだって思った。いつか自分も消え去る日が来て、それがきっとお嬢様を傷つけるなんて勝手に決めつけて。違うんだ。僕が怯えていただけなんだ。僕は、永遠になれない恋なら、しない方がマシだって、怯えてただけなんだ。
セミは、生涯のうち、数週間にも満たない、わずかな期間で恋をして、消えていくんだって。数週間で終わる恋だからと、恋をしないセミはいないんじゃないかな。
It seemed that Kanon was still speaking of his regrets, but by now it was all jumbled up in his crying voice.
あの魔女が憎い。僕に、どうしてこんな気持ちを植え付けて。あいつさえ、妙ないたずらをしなければ、 お嬢様のことなんか気にならなかったのに。
ベアトリーチェ様はひどいね。カノン君にそうやって悔し泣きをさせるために運命をいたずらした。でも魔女の思惑は多分外れてる。
Oh my goodness.
だって
Knowing love isn't a lingering attachment that ties you to life. It is the place we should reach on our journey through life. I feel like this is something profound, but I'm kind of struggling to make sense of it.
というわけだ、カノン。せっかくの約束はこれで遂行だな。
She's not in her new outfit.
さてさて、これにて全ての駒の条件は同じよ。駒は18。13人が生贄に捧げられる。生き残る5人は誰か。
You know what I just realized? They've been calling all these sacrifices or all the people in the mansion pieces. I guess like chess pieces in this game they're playing.
それとも誰かがこの儀式を打ち壊してみせるか。誰がどうやってこれはチェスプロブレムではない。対等なゲームだ。わらわだけが一方的に詰めるわけではない。そなたはわらわの詰めから懸命に逃れ続け、引き分け無効試合に持ち込むことができる。まあせいぜいそなたにできるのはそれを延々と繰り返すのが関の山よ。そしておそらくそれはそなたにとってそう難しいことではあるまい。
I wonder who she's speaking to. To the reader? To Battler?
しかしそなたは永遠に続く無効試合にやがて精神をすり減らし、やがては精神を殺す。その時にこそ敗北を受け入れ、わらわに屈服することになるであろう。対等なゲームと言った理由、それはわらわにも敗北の条件を設けてあることだ。負けのないゲームほど退屈なものはないのでな。わらわを負かす方法、それはわらわの肖像画に捧げられたあの碑文よ。あれこそは黄金鏡の扉の開き方にして同時に儀式を打ち破る鍵でもある。わらわは碑文に従い儀式を完遂する。そなたは碑文の謎を解き、儀式を打ち破りわらわを滅ぼす。碑文に隠された謎を解き、わらわが金蔵に値し莫大なる黄金のありかを暴いてみせよ。こたびのゲームはどういう結末を見せるのやら、健闘を期待するぞ。わらわを楽しませてみせろよ。後ろ宮バトラー！
So it's Battler that she's talking to. Are we gonna travel there? No. This is definitely a new location.
異論はない。私と夏日は認める。
Except what? Oh my goodness.
信じられないし、信じたくないけれど、それが現実なのね。
What?
夏日、言葉を少し選びなさい。 彼女は当家の最高の賓客なのだ。
So I'm right that they do know about Beatrice? What?
わしらも認める。
No, wait. What?
グーの音も出えへん。
へえ、認めるわ。一片の文句もない。まさか本当に。
What? I'm so confused.
素直にあなたに尊敬の念を覚えるわ。
What?
私もよ。
Goodness.
すごいわ。純粋に尊敬する。だから認めざるを得ないわ。
Everyone is like in complete disbelief.
俺も認めるぜ。未だに信じられねえ。だがどうしようね。悪魔を証明しちまった。
What?
あんたの勝ちだ。
Wait, who is you? Kraus? No, Beatrice? Holy shit.
悪魔の証明はそなたが好む証明不能への便利な言い訳だったが、あだになったようだな。
いじめるなよ魔女様。
What? Guys, what?
俺はもうあんたを認めてるぜ。降参だ。
キリエ、まだ異論があるか。わらわは全員一致しか好まぬ。お前一人がわらわの存在を認めぬならば。
As the witch laughed boldly, the siblings started to panic. They were afraid of displeasing the witch. Kirie lightly closed her eyes and, after keeping silent for a while, opened her mouth.
ごめんなさい。降参よ。
Only Kirie had faced the witch with stern eyes until the end. However, she had only been able to resist acknowledging the truth for a short time. The reality, the being that was before her eyes, couldn't be denied. So they are resigning and accepting Beatrice's existence, I suppose. Devils had already been proven.
私も認めるわ。あなたはベアトリーチェ、後宮家の顧問錬金術師、そして偉大なる魔法の使い手、魔女であることを認めざるを得ない。
Goodness. I feel like everything's happening so fast. I feel like I should have been counting how many times that clock struck. Oh, this is what happened that previous time too. Like, time stood still for a moment and everyone's location was shown, right? Genji? Maria, Jessica, Battler and George, Kinzo in the study still. This is okay, Beatrice's room. But Nanjo, Kumasawa, their locations weren't exposed. What? What? Oh, I'm getting chills right now. 6 a.m. Halloween. I wonder why it's titled that way. Well. What was the sound that always filled the ears? The sound of the rain, the sound of a waterfall, or was it a radio static? Who are you talking to? In that case, I want it to be the sound of blood flowing through the body. When I heard, is it a sound of the rain? I kind of felt like that was directed at me. Considering we always have the sound of the rain in the background in almost every chapter. I wanted to be the sound of the blood circulating throughout my body, telling me that I am still alive. Kinzo?
朝なのか。
Kinzo. The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but it at least told him that dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the same pose he had when he awoke, still sitting in his chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. Judging by the clock, it was early in the morning, 6 on a dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he woke up at exactly this time, as though he had measured it with an hourglass. He didn't think that something like this was worthy of boasting of, but he told himself that while he could still do something like this, he was still in robust health.
朝を迎えたということは。
The 6 have been sacrificed?
どうやら最初の生贄は逃れたということらしい。ルーレットの目が幸運だったのか、我が努力の賜物なのか。区別のつかぬところが何とももどかしいが、それは言うまい。
I'm assuming that the fruit of his efforts are referring to how he barricaded his study from Beatrice's magic. Kinzo was very slightly driven by a temptation to look at the other side of the study door, because he thought that maybe he might find the traces of a vain struggle to break the door, made by something trying to select him as one of the first 6 sacrifices.
人間とは安っぽい生き物だな。人事を尽くして天命を待ちながら幸運を得られた時にはそれが単なる幸運ではなく己の技量によるものだったとうぬぼれたくもなる。
I have no idea what providence is, but I will search that up. So he wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. That is only human. I see. I understand what he means. Therefore, Kinzo did not check. He repressed the things that he wanted to do because he was human. By that, Kinzo could immerse himself in a feeling of sufficiency as though he had become a being that surpassed humans. He became aware of human desire and forbade it. Things that a human wanted to do, he resisted. this eccentric and rebellious sense had surely given him a rare genius, which must have allowed him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Ushinomiya family in one generation.
さて、ベアトリーチェ。お前が取った6つの駒は何なのか。そして次なる手はどう来るのか。楽しませてもらうぞ。私の守りは完璧だ。前回のような無様はさらさぬぞ。
Like the last time? Oh goodness. Kinzo says a lot of odd things. The servants woke early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. Goda is still alive. How unfortunate for me. Goda was the most enthusiastic. He had been told to concentrate his efforts in particular on his work as a chef for the duration of the family conference. And he had been specially exempted from several tasks that servants normally must do. It seemed that Goda, who was a show-off, had a particular feeling of supremacy about that. He left the preparations of the inside of the mansion to Genji and the rest, and worked on preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shannon and Kanon, and they carried out various tasks. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference had continued into the small hours of the night. It wouldn't have been odd for this year's conference to continue all the way into the next morning. So she had knocked out of consideration for the possibility that they were still having a discussion inside. If I remember correctly, there was blood in the dining room too. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning. I'm expecting something right now.
おはようございます。いらっしゃいませんか?
The room was cold, and it seemed that the conference had ended a long time before. On top of the table, there was a tea set from which they had probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean them up. Cleaning away the tea was a servant's job. So if the family was too caring and cleaned it up after themselves, the servants would lose face. Therefore, just doing this much for the servants truly was a pleasing act of kindness. As she approached the table to clean it away, she noticed that something like a memo had been left along with the cups. It had been placed together with the tea set, so, naturally thinking it was a memo for the servant cleaning up, Shannon took it. Written on it was not a request nor thanks for preparing the tea, but just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it out loud.
礼拝堂.
Oh, that's where they were.
Huh?
Holy shit, what if all the dead bodies are there? Oh god. I'm not looking forward to this. A small sound kept repeating over and over. It was a sound that would ordinarily have been trivial and insignificant. I hope I stop hearing it soon. Then I could return to my doze, someone thought vaguely. Someone. But no matter how much time passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Ah, shut up. Who is that? Banging on the door constantly. Might be Shannon banging on the chapel door. No, it's not. As soon as she realized this, she woke up. Someone was knocking. It's panning out very similarly to episode 1. But this time I guess this is not Natsuhi, but kind of looks more like a servant's quarters. Maybe Kumasawa? Then she noticed that there wasn't just a knock, but a voice too.
ローザ様。ローザ様。
Oh. I assumed that it was the servants' quarters because the room looks a little shabby for, I guess, someone of the Ushiromiya name.
おはようございます。
待って。今行きます。
It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it was still before 7. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this ominous premonition. Because Genji had been a familiar servant to Rosa since her childhood days, she opened the door a crack and answered even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas.
おはようございます。早朝から申し訳ございません。
何かあったの？
はい。実は礼拝堂に。
Genji spoke into Rosa's ear and told her something in a small voice. It seemed that Rosa couldn't understand what she was being told after only hearing it once. And after repeating the words back to him several times, she finally realized that apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed her door for a second, and after changing her clothes, she immediately accompanied Genji and they headed to the mansion. The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in a mansion, but in a grove behind the mansion, which could be reached after a short walk. It had been built at the same time that the mansion had been constructed on Rokkenjima. So while its outside walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa and Genji dashed through the rain together. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. Eventually, they began to see the chapel beyond a sparse grove. If all she knew of it was its appearance from the outside, it might have felt like a place of dazzling beauty where a pair of young lovers might want to hold a ceremony. However, it seemed that in Kinzo's eyes, this was a very sacred place. And Rosa and her siblings had been harshly told not to approach it unnecessarily. It's the first time we are ever introduced to a chapel, I think. So even at this age, and no matter what the reason for it, she felt some guilt in approaching the chapel, and was gripped by the fear that this would surely make her father so angry he would slap her across the face. The servants' silhouettes could be seen in front of the entrance to the chapel. Goda, Shannon, and Kanon, which meant that all of the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Rosa had been told the nature of the situation verbally by Genji. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she really hadn't been able to understand. Probably all of the servants gathered there were the same. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they couldn't understand what was going on. Oh God. It's been a while since we've seen this symbol, and honestly, the red on black always gets me. Because on the door that was the entrance to the chapel, drawn very large, with a creepy, sticky paint-like substance that made one think of blood, was something like a creepy magic circle. Oh.
何よ、これ。いつ書かれたの？
The servants looked at each other. Goda was the first to open his mouth.
申し訳ございません。普段はここへは立ち入りませんもので、いつ書かれたのかはわかりません。
じゃあ、最初に見つけたのは誰？
はい、私です。食堂へお茶の道具の片付けに行きましたら、礼拝堂と書かれたメモがあったもので。
Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand.
誰の字？兄さんや姉さんの字ではないわね。それで、あなたはここへ来て、これを見つけたのね。
はい。
ローザ様、これを。
何？ハッピーハロウィン for
Maria? Kanon was pointing at a single line of English written below the creepy magic circle. Until it had been pointed out to her, she had thought it was just another part of the magic circle and hadn't noticed it. Written there in English were the words, Happy Halloween for Maria. Oh my goodness. Happy Halloween for Maria. A wish for an enjoyable Halloween. For Maria. A creepy magic circle. For Maria. Happy Halloween. The only person who said the words Happy Halloween to Maria yesterday. The symbols matched. The Golden Witch, Beatrice.
マリアは？あの子、いとこたちと一緒に寝てるはずよね。確認した？
申し訳ございません。
What?
マリア様のお名前が書かれていたことには今気づきましたもの。まだ確認しておりません。至急。
何やってんのよ。私はマリアの様子を見てきます。それからクラウス兄さんたちにも知らせて、以後の対応の指示を受けて。
After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was out of place. Her own rank within this family conference was the lowest of the 4 siblings. In an abnormal situation like this, why had she been the only one called when the other siblings hadn't? Even if Maria's name had popped up.
まさか。
はい。旦那様にご連絡申し上げようとしたのですが、お姿が見当たらず。
奥様もお部屋におられません。シーツの様子からすると、昨夜はベッドに戻られていないのかもしれません。
Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back.
礼拝堂の中、確認した。
I'm not ready.
いえ、まだです。確認しようとはしたのですが。
実は礼拝堂の鍵は特別でマスターキーに対応しておりません。1本だけある鍵でしか開けられないのですが、その鍵がキーボックスから紛失しているのです。
She didn't want to get any closer to the door with the creepy magic circle if she could help it. Rosa readied herself and approached and tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy lock.
入れる窓などがないか探してはみたのですが、もし中を確認するのでしたら窓を破らなければならないかと思います。いかがいたしましょう。
そんな許可私に出せるわけがないわ。お父様の大切な礼拝堂なのよ。そんなことできないわよ。
And also because her fear, her childhood fear, is still stuck with her, I guess. Then the events of the previous day swirled around in the back of Rosa's mind. That's right. When I met that witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Yes, I'm positive she did. When Maria had tried to open it, that witch had told her not to do that yet, and then she had definitely said, "The time will come soon to open it." Rosa became convinced. There could be no doubt. That letter which had been handed to Maria I guess Rosa's gonna go find Maria right now. After dashing back to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps. Hiding. Softly opened the door and peered inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores of young people. The 4 children were all there. Maria was there, sleeping soundly. After heaving a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Maria always liked walking around with her treasures. She was probably imitating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just copying her, so on the inside, it was full of junk. In Maria's case, it was full of small, creepy, occult-like items and a notebook with things like that written in it. Rosa hadn't once been happy to see her daughter walking around with those kind of ungirlish things. However, after she had tried to force Maria to stop, they had gotten into a big fight and she had decided to let it be. A Western envelope with the crest of the gold eagle. When she took it out, she could tell there was a heavy, cylindrical object inside. She could tell by its feel and its weight. There was no doubt. This was a key. After turning around and checking that Maria was still sound asleep, Rosa tore open the envelope and tipped out the contents into her palm. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa grasped the key and dashed out. It seemed that Battler noticed those sounds, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again.
Genji-san, この鍵、ひょっとして礼拝堂の鍵ということは。
これをどこで？はい、これが礼拝堂の鍵です。
Rosa approached the creepy magic circle once again and put the key in the keyhole. There was a strong resistance. After it resisted for a short while, it stopped that resistance with a clunk. Then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open. I'm just wondering who's inside. Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room. Of course, there was no answer. Oh God. The chapel had a high ceiling and the air was cold. And even on this rainy, unsettling day, for some reason, it felt sacred. The servants timidly followed after Rosa.
Rosa-sama, あれを。
Kanon noticed immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place where normally a pastor would preach of God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. Candy. At first, it looked like a dining table, and there were actually gorgeous plates and utensils set on the table, enough to make you think it was a child's birthday party or something. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. And there were people seated at a table. 3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Eva and her husband, and Rudolph and his wife. But if you were asked if these were definitely them, you'd still have to go even closer to check. Because they seemed almost like dolls. Rosa and the rest had opened the door and entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps and called out, asking if anyone was there. And yet, there had been no reaction. Even assuming they had chosen to ignore them, normally you'd expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there hadn't even been that. So at first, it felt like someone had set down some dolls that looked a lot like them. By now, it wasn't just Rosa. Shannon and Kanon, and even Goda. They were all fighting frantically against the creepy, rising emotion tightly grasping their hearts.
兄さん、姉さん。
As she climbed up to the altar, she called out again. Still, the others gave no reaction. Yes, by now, Rosa had accepted it. They were not dolls. She had accepted that they were those very people.
これは。
They approached close enough to be able to see clearly what was on the table. Just like their first impression, it looked like a lovely banquet, reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled up with sweets, glasses with lovely drinks, several ornaments in the shape of pumpkins. They were all decorated in a Halloween style, and while it might have been an irrelevant thought at a time like this, she thought that this would surely make Maria happy if she could see it. They were seated in front of that table, and it looked like they were sleeping. It was an eerie scene, as though a small, fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time.
兄さんたち、寝てるの？
When she approached even closer to them, she realized the candies were scattered all over the floor. There were candies in very fancy wrapping, cookies, fizzy lemon sweets, chocolates, and they were all distributed across the carpet, which was covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Oh my goodness! Holy shit! I was thinking at that time that jam was really odd being there. Oh shit. I got scared again. Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party. A banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsuhi, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kirie, 6 people in all, were seated in the chairs, dead as though they were sleeping. How could he tell that they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they were, from their chest to their stomachs, vertically sliced open?
なんてむごい。
The 6 of them were seated at a Halloween party, all of them killed, with their stomachs sliced open. was the jam that covered the floor, something that he couldn't finish eating, which had overflowed out of their stomachs. What? Holy shit. Poison? No. The contents of their stomachs had been splattered all across the floor. Oh shit. And that wasn't all. From his stomachs, almost as though they had spilled out. Sweets! Holy shit. Oh my goodness. Candies and cookies, fizzy lemon sweets and chocolates had spilled out, stained with blood, and had scattered across the floor. What could have happened to cause this? It was almost as though the insides of their stomachs had been stuffed full with sweets, and when their stomachs had been cut, it had all flowed out. Oh God. Rosa remembered a gross-out meal, a turkey that had been served at her own birthday when she was a young girl. When she had put the knife in from the inside, a very favorite, but because no one had told her about it at all, bright red ketchup omelette rice had poured out like blood-stained maggots. Blah, dripping, slimy, pulpy, sticky. The trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise up. Unable to hold back, she threw up on the floor. Her empty stomach couldn't throw up anything but stomach acid. This scene in front of her was no longer a fun Halloween party by any means. The three couples had been placed there with their stomachs vertically wrenched open with a... Oh goodness. Lots and lots of sweets had been stuffed in there. Pulpy. I don't think this is actually a word, right? Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Blood-stained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet candy stuck to each finger. Gummy. But it's stained with the entrails, sloppy, pulpy. What was that I stepped on just now? That didn't feel like a candy or a cookie or a fizzy lemon sweet or a chocolate. I'm so scared. I can't even look at the bottom of my foot to see what I stepped on. What a gruesome Halloween party. From far away, it looked really beautiful, fantastical, and fun. And when you see it up close, it's really terrible, disgusting, and yet still somehow beautiful. Rosa's wild thoughts tried as best they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar. If a word tied to reality like police hadn't come out of Goda's mouth, Rosa and the rest would probably still have been unable to escape this nightmarish party. But that wasn't because they thought that the police might be able to do something. If they didn't say police out loud, it felt like another seat would be set up at this demon's party and given to them. It felt like their own stomachs were getting uncomfortably filled from the inside. Rumbling, churning. It was surely because candy was starting to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa was again tortured by a desire to vomit and threw up her stomach acid on the floor. And then she searched to see whether there was any candy mixed in. Oh god. Rosa coughed violently again and violently spat up the stomach acid that burned her throat from the inside. She realized that by now, her whole body had become covered in filthy sweat.
源氏さんとシャナンちゃん、お父様に連絡して指示を仰いでちょうだい。郷田さんはカノン君と一緒に行って警察に電話を。あと、南條先生に来てもらう。
Have Nanjo come here and... what? It's way too late for medical care. The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again fixedly cast her eyes upon her siblings who had been through life's joys and sorrows with her and their partners. Even though there was nothing more tragic, for some reason their fantastical deaths tempted her to describe them as beautiful. That's odd.
Inena. どこに行っちまったんだろうな。
使用人室も厨房も空っぽだぜ。一体どうしちまったってんだ。
I honestly thought that Maria was crying because she didn't know if her mother would be safe or not. Or like maybe she's crying because she didn't know where Rosa is. But seeing that she's more concerned about the letter kind of makes sense too. I want to say that this could suggest that Maria knows that Rosa is not dead. Just like in episode 1 where Maria was quite casual about it, well, despite her mother dying or being sacrificed.
弱ったね。バトラ君、本当にローザおばさんだったのかい？
まあ、俺も寝ぼけてたから自信はねえんだが、明け方にローザおばさんが入ってきて、マリアの手提げカバンを漁ってるような気がしたんだよ。俺はてっきり、マリアの手提げに歯磨きのチューブでも入ってるんじゃないかなんて思って寝ぼけてて。
なんで歯磨きのチューブがマリアの手提げに入ってるんだよ。寝ぼけて夢でも見たに決まってんぜ。
I guess actually with the key being in Maria's letter and the words Happy Halloween for Maria written on the door to the chapel, that Maria was supposed to be the one to open it and see it for herself first. It was a present for her. Battler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousin's room. And Maria, who had woken up first, had started rampaging around, saying that someone had opened the envelope that she had been keeping safe. And so they had started wondering whether Rosa might have come and opened it.
黄金の魔女様の封筒か。中に何が入ってたんだろ
う。わからないね。でも、あの封筒はおじい様が新書に使う後ろ宮家の家紋の入ったものだった。親族会議と無関係なものが入っていたとは考えがたいね。
She hadn't let anyone touch it, but yesterday Maria had bragged a lot about the envelope to Battler and the rest. So they remembered it well.
George ジョージの兄貴の言う通りなら相当重要なものらしいが、しかしそんな大事なものをどうして魔女様はマリアに渡したんだろうな。さっぱりだぜ。
The refreshing morning atmosphere had been completely wiped out by the occasional sounds of thunder. It was only natural. Since the time they had woken up, they hadn't met anyone other than themselves. It felt like the mansion had become an empty husk, leaving only them behind.
おーい！誰かいないか？返事してくれよ！
After Jessica called out into the hallway, an answer finally came back. It was from the entrance hall.
聞こえますとも。何かありましたか？
南條先生だ。よかった。この島から僕たち以外が消えてしまったわけではないようだよ。
南條先生、おはようございます。すみませんが、うちの親たちとかどこに行ったか知りませんか？
はて、私も今起きてこちらに来たばかりですからな。わかりかねますが、さて。
It was only natural. Nanjo was a guest like the rest of them. He had just now come to pass time in the parlor until breakfast.
南條先生、ママが通った。ママがマリアのお手紙通ったの。返して、返して。
Maria buried her face in Nanjo's well-built stomach, sobbing and crying. Nanjo could do nothing but be bewildered at what was going on so early in the morning.
誰かかけてくるぜ。ジェシカ、誰か来るぞ。
From down the hall, they could sense people running hurriedly. When they looked, they saw that it was Goda and Kanon. Running inside the mansion should have been immodest for a servant. And yet, Battler and the rest didn't even think to question that now. Maria's sobbing had become so unmanageable, they wanted to ask someone, anyone, where Rosa was. But the two servants ignored Jessica as she waved her hand. Goda flew into the servant room, and Kanon, noticing that Nanjo was here, bowed and approached him at a quick pace and whispered something into his ear.
何ですって？ローザさんが。
はい。ご案内いたしますので、どうかご同行お願いいたします。
わかりました。
こちらへ。
Without saying anything more than that, Kanon finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her. But he wasn't calm. He dashed back down a corridor by which he had come, followed by Nanjo. By looking at how hurried they were, Battler and the rest realized that something bad really had happened. They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He had the telephone receiver in hand and was violently pressing the hook. From that, they realized that he was trying to call a hospital or the police, or in any event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred.
行ってみようぜ。
ママ、返して。マリアの手紙返して。それは黄金鏡への招待状なの。
I guess in a way, it is. They didn't know what, but something was happening. Battler and the rest chased after Kanon and Nanjo. And then we realized. Kanon-kun had called Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us. So we should never have followed. I wonder if Alice didn't regret her excess curiosity when she chased after the rabbit holding a clock. Oh god, I'm not ready again.
母さん、父さん、何があったの？なんだよこりゃ。趣味が悪いにも程があるじゃねえかよ。命を奪うならそれで十分事足りただろうがよ。なんだよこりゃ。わざわざ殺した後に椅子に座らせて腹裂いて、菓子をわざわざ中に詰め込んだってのかよ。なんだってそんな悪趣味なことをしやがるんだよ。ちくしょうやってくれやがるぜ。最高だよ。
皆さんは外へ出られた方がいい。こんな姿を皆さんに見せたいなどと彼らが思うわけがありません。
Nanjo told the children to go outside, but no one lent him an ear.
ローザさん、皆さんに言ってください。こんなもの見続けては毒になる。
Rosa regretted her own carelessness. She should have been able to anticipate that the children would eventually come here. She should have quickly locked it instead of standing around. So now the children had come. They had seen it. Surely in this very moment, they were having a sight that burned into their eyes, which is far more grotesque than the gross-out food Rosa had seen in her youth. While she hugged Maria, who seemed to have forgotten her emotions as she stared dumbfounded at the horrible scene, Rosa shed copious tears for them and their parents. The four groaning and crying voices, their sadness, continued to echo in a place which should have known God's love.
クソ野郎が。
What?
またかよ。またこんな殺人を。しかも今度もやたらと凝った最高にふざけた殺し方をしやがって。
Clearly, Battler's in a different place, or something.
わらわはそんな嘆きより感謝の言葉が聞きたかったぞ。
感謝と言ったかこのクソババア。てめえ耳がいかれてやがるってんなら俺が両の耳を引き裂いてよく聞こえるようにしてやるぜ。なんで俺がこの最高にいかれた殺し方にありがとうございますベアトリーチェ様なんて言わなければならねえんだ。ぶっ殺してやる。
前回のゲーム
Oh shit. Guys, that was scary. I cannot.
お前は自分の親の死に顔が見られないと嘆いたな。だから残したぞ。
So now it's the stomach instead of the face.
しっかり残した。よく拝んでおけ。間違いなく父親たちが殺されたことを。
Holy shit.
そいつはサービス満点だぜ。気に入った。俺はてめえの息の根を止めたら顔面耕してやろうと誓ってたが、そいつは取り消してやるぜ。てめえの腹渡を引きずり出してやる。
I'm sorry, but I still can't look at Beatrice's face. It's scaring the life out of me.
感情に任せて思考を止めるな。すでにわらわのゲームは始まっておるのだぞ。わらわは今回は綺麗に死体を残すことに決めた。なぜだかわかるか？前回のゲームで そなたがわらわの存在を否定するとき、こう考えて否定したであろう。それは顔面が潰され、遺体の身元が確認できない。
That's exactly what I was thinking.
だから身代わりの死体を用意してアリバイを作った可能性が否定できない。その可能性が排除できない限り、人間犯人説は維持できる。
I absolutely hate that she is calling me out for that.
なんだと
Oh shit.
さあバトラ、南條に検視を任せてよいのか。ミステリーの古典では検視の医者がグルというのが伝統なのだろう。
Yes, and in addition to that, I mean, Krause and Natsuhi did say something about Nanjo and Genji being their allies, right?
なら南條に検視を任せるな。そなたが自らするがよい。間違いなく6人の死体が当人で、死んだふりなどでなく本当に死んでいることを十分に確認するがいい。お前の父親が母親が腹を裂かれて臓物を引きずり出されて殺されていることを、腹に手を入れてその手触りで確認するがいい。
Oh god.
泣かねえ。ちくしょうちくしょう、泣かねえぞ俺は。
Battler suddenly yelled. His tears were still dripping down, but as though scolding him for being girly, he slapped his face hard several times with both hands. Even so, the tears still wouldn't stop. However, he felt a hot blaze ignite in both his eyes.
これだけの上等を決めやがった野郎に借りはがっちり返させていただくぜ。なら泣く時じゃねえ。自分のすべきことを考えろ。ああ、ダメだぜ、全然ダメだ。涙を流す暇があったら考えろ。涙腺なんかひるませる時じゃね
え。Rather than pure hatred, maybe it was more of an invasive hatred to blot out his sadness. However, it gave a little courage to George and Jessica, who were being crushed by sadness.
そうだね。僕たちが泣いても起こってしまった現実は変わらない。
じゃあどうすりゃいいんだ。私は父さんと母さんのために何をすればいいんだよ。
ローザ様、戻りました。
郷田さん、警察はどうでしたか。対応の指示はいつ頃来られそうだと言っていましたか。
それが電話が故障のようでして、非常用の無線機も試してはみたのですが、その天候のせいでしょうか、こちらも通じず。
なんですって。じゃあ警察に連絡がつかないということなの。
You know, I suddenly thought of this, but if Genji is working as an accomplice to whoever staged this, then it's also possible that he had the master key, he had the key to the chapel, and he also severed all connections to the outside world in terms of like the telephone being out of order. It could be possible, right?
あいつだ。あいつが電話線とかに細工して警察に電話ができないようにしたんだ。
When she heard that the telephones were out of order, Jessica immediately decided that it was the work of that mysterious guest. Her eyes were bright red after so much crying, and they began to grow even more red with rage.
もう議論の余地なんかねえぜ。全てが分かってる。そうだと分かる。父さんと母さんを殺したのは誰だ。決まってるぜ、あいつだ。昨日来たとかいう魔女様に決まってる。襟首ひねり上げてやるぜ。 ちくしょうちくしょうちくしょう。ジェシカちゃん、お待ちなさい。ゴーダさん、カノ君、行って。
はい。お嬢様、お待ちを。
Covering her unfocused sadness with anger, Jessica ran outside, torn apart by emotion. Thinking about it hastily, maybe the mystery guest, Beatrice, who had arrived yesterday, was suspicious. However, at the current time, there was absolutely no proof that she was the culprit. At this moment, she was nothing more than a simple guest, and only one of many. So Rosa had to make an adult decision and stop Jessica in her hasty rampage. Goda and Kanon realized that immediately and chased after her.
誰にも招かれなかった客人、ベアトリーチェが犯人なんだろうか。
ジェシカの気持ちもわかる。そう思い込みたい気持ちは俺にもある。誰でもいいから犯人ってことにして横っ面をぶっ飛ばしてやりたい気持ちがある。だがその前にはっきりと理解する必要がある。ベアトリーチェって何者なんだ。俺は顔すら見てねえぜ。
顔ならお屋敷に大きな肖像画で飾られてたよ。あれだけ見てまだ覚えられないのかな。
なんだよマリア、こんな状況で何がおかしいよ。
ベアトリーチェは魔女なんだよ。そして黄金鏡の扉を開くための儀式がいよいよ始まったの。この6人はその生贄なんだよ。さあさあ始まるよ、魔女の宴が。今宵はハロウィン。魔女たちが今こそ祝い集う。
Tonight is not even Halloween.
マリア、その気持ち悪い声で笑うのをやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
The crisp sound of Rosa slapping Maria's cheek echoed throughout the high-ceilinged chapel. It kind of feels like ever since the rain started yesterday. No, ever since the island had become wrapped up in the typhoon, something has gone crazy. I had arrived in Rokkenjima while it was clear and taken a nap because I had gotten up early. When I woke up, it had already started raining. And after I got up, that's when it all started. Hold up. I just realized this, but Kumasawa is nowhere. Well, suddenly a mysterious visitor had arrived, calling herself the Golden Witch, Beatrice, and it feels like the world has started skewing bit by bit into something insane. What happened while I was taking that nap? During that time, had this island been cut off, trapped in a different world where common sense doesn't apply? Who is this person called Beatrice? Is she some unknown person trying to involve themselves with the inheritance problem like our parents were freaking out about at dinner last night? Or is the culprit that witch from the Legend of the Gold, like Maria says? Even if Jessica hadn't let her short temper get the better of her, in this situation, the visitor was probably the most suspicious. But we mustn't jump to conclusions just like that. Yeah, that's no good. No good. No goddamn good at all. I smacked my face with both hands again, cooling off my brain before it overheated. Even though it might have been a waste of effort.
これはおじい様の封筒。
On a tray piled up with sweets that decorated the table, George Aniki found a Western envelope which had the Ushiro-miya family crest done on it in gold leaf. And it was unopened. Huh?
ってことは、それは俺たち宛てってことじゃねえのか。親父たちが読んだものだったなら開封されてるはずだぜ。
その推理は正解のようだよ。書いてある。残されし者たちへって。
それは犯人が残した手紙なの。中身は。
兄貴、開けようぜ。
After nodding silently, George Aniki opened it. A folded letter came out.
読むよ。六軒島へようこそ。後ろ宮家の皆様方。私は、金蔵様にお仕えしております。当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
That letter really was a joke. This Beatrice, who called herself the family alchemist, had announced that she was collecting the gold she had lent grandfather along with the interest. And that interest was everything that grandfather had created. Since this tragedy was right before our eyes as this paragraph was read aloud, it clearly wasn't referring just to the wealth that grandfather had built up. It was literal. Everything that grandfather had given birth to. In other words, all of grandfather's descendants were included in the interest.
ふざけやがって。なんてめちゃくちゃな契約だ。黄金の利子は命だったのかよ。そんなのまるで悪魔の契約じゃねえかよ。それで魔女気取りってわけか。笑わせやがるぜ。
特別条項。ただし隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。黄金の隠し場所についてはすでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。つまりこういうことだね。もしこの殺人が利子の回収行為だというなら、それを止める条件としておじい様に与えた隠し黄金を探し出してみろとこう言ってるんだよ。そしてその秘密は例の肖像画の碑文に隠されているとも言ってる。
つまりこいつは魔女様の挑戦状ってわけか。黄金の隠し場所を記した暗号文を解けるものなら解いてみろと。そしてそれができなきゃ利子の回収をこの後も着々と進めていきますと、そう言ってやがるわけか。ぶっ殺してやる上等だ。
バトラ君、これ
Oh no. The table had been full of sweets. So even though they had been right in the open, we had assumed they were just sweets. I mean, come on, you find stuff like this a lot, right? You know, boxes of chocolates shaped like gold ingots. That's a gold that Kraus hid.
こりゃお菓子の箱じゃねえぞ。本物だ。こりゃ本物の金塊だ。
片翼のわしの紋章が刻印されてる。前に母さんが話してたのを聞いた。これはおじい様の黄金伝説の金塊だよ。
Gold ingots, 3 of them weighing a full 10 kilograms each, were piled up in the very center of the table. It was where the cake would be placed if it was a birthday party. In other words, this was without a doubt the birthday cake of the party known as the family conference.
これが本当に純度49のインゴットだったなら6000万円くらいの価値はある。
バカ野郎、安すぎる。俺たちの親が6人も殺されて、そこに積まれた黄金がたったの6000万円だと。バカにするんじゃね
え。さあ始まったね、ベアトリーチェ。どうせこの謎は誰にも解けないよ。だから絶対にベアとの勝ち。早く黄金鏡への扉を開いて、そしてマリアを連れてって。
Oh, God. Ah, that was a tough one.
お嬢様、どうか気をお静めください。
Okay, we're gonna end here. What? Today. Even though it was just after the high of literally everything that is horrible. But, alright. First thing first. Nanjo and Kumasawa's location wasn't exposed back when time kind of felt like it stopped. Now, I don't know if that just doesn't mean anything or it actually has meaning, but if it does have meaning in a way or another, then it's a little suspicious that none of them were shown. And I think that they were the only two whose location wasn't exposed. Then, on top of that, Kumasawa wasn't with the servants when they were all gathered there. It was just Goda and like the three other furniture, and Kumasawa wasn't there, which was very, very strange for me. So it kind of feels like she might have something to do with what had happened. Maybe. Well, I don't know what she could have done, but it's just a little suspicious that she's not around. And I think I mentioned as well that the key to the Golden Land is it the key? Yes, she did say that's the key to the Golden Land. Maria did. And I guess in a way it is, because that's a key to the chapel that would start the path to letting the remaining 5 go travel to the Golden Land. So there's that. I know I had something else to say, but I also did already cover it through the gameplay. I might just append it after this section or at the back. But other things of interest is definitely how Battler and Beatrice had a whole conversation like in the middle of uncovering the dead bodies. It doesn't feel like they were totally in a different dimension. Well, they could have been, but well, the Battler there, I can't tell if it's the same Battler that is experiencing the trauma of losing his parents, or if it's the Battler from episode 1 that is overseeing everything that's happening again. And also, Beatrice's face really, really scared me. I didn't think I would get jump scared by an expression after Maria's face in episode 1, but I guess we are learning new things every day. Now I seriously have to be on the lookout for Beatrice as well, not just Maria anymore. Oh, goodness. Okay, yep. I heard the water drop, so it's updated. With Kraus, the direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems his stomach was cut open and his intestines were pulled out after his death. Additionally, sweets and candies were packed into his stomach. Welcome, Maria. Happy Halloween. Definitely, unlike the first episode, which I believe the person who was writing this portion anyway was Maria, this time it feels like it's someone else, possibly Beatrice. Natsuhi, see, didn't I tell you bellies are full of candy? Gotta look at, I guess all the bloody spots are on their body. Everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. For Hideyoshi, a belly could never be full of disgusting things. It's quite odd. That's why you want to be simple and sweet like candy. So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween. Oh, okay, so I don't think I noticed this in episode 1, but it does feel like starting from Kraus and ending at Kirie, it's a whole message, a coherent message. Welcome Maria, happy Halloween. See, didn't I tell you bellies are full of candy? Everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. A belly could never be full of disgusting things. That's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy. So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween. It's an ominous message, that's for sure. Now I want to look at episode 1. If I read it in order, I don't think there is a message, though. We start where it all begins. He has the right to lament his ill fortune. She was chosen by the demons Roulette, that's all there is to it. I'll be seeing her again, so I'm not lonely. Don't worry, everyone will be revived in the Golden Land. Well, unfortunate, apparently he was actually supposed to be on duty in a guest house. There's nothing. If I execute everyone though, I still think there's nothing. I'd like to hear what do you think about it in the comments down below, but I fear that might be a little spoilerish. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!